So we have to wake up the spirit inside you that is capable of accomplishing all these things. So this morning, I really want us in everything we say and the ideas we discuss, the conversations that we will have with the callers in due course. I want us to be conscious, Pastor Percival, that you and I are being bridges today. We just want to be that voice of reason and faith that will be an anchor for someone who is either already crossing the troubled waters, or they're looking at it, or they see it beginning to get agitated.
Some of the time,
And they know they have to put their foot in.
You know, the water, we have us, and the water is troubled, my friend.
Yeah.
God's mighty power is moving to cover you, troubled where it is.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's why I wanted the song. I just felt like with the things that we've been seeing, and they're not letting up, and they're not supposed to let up. That's another thing, you know. While we are here building up your faith and trying to teach some skills, some survival skills, it's not because you are going to be able to stop this movement. This movement is inevitable. It was ordained from long ago. As you mentioned the prophet Isaiah. Prophet Isaiah, his prophecies are replete with many, many utterances where God is emphasizing, I foretold it long ago. Not your silver god or gold god or handmade, your craft item. They didn't predict this. They're not doing it. Do not be confused. Don't think that this is happening because some greater spirit has taken control of this world. This is as I planned it. Isn't that something? Because a lot of times we see things going off the tracks and we say, the devil is, and we forget that the devil is a tool, and the devil is here creating trouble so that you and I can find
peace,
our path to the peace and the reconciliation.
Yeah.
That's all it is. So when you see him, the more excited he gets, you should be thinking, I'm closer. I am closer. Because he knows he's running out of time. It's like if you watch a race being run and you see the contenders getting close to the finish line, and the man who is trying to get the goal, he's looking at the one ahead of him, and you can see him putting in more effort if he has it. Sometimes they pip the leader,
pip the man on the line,
on the finish line.
So where come from? The man they're thinking gone
and relaxing, ready to.
And that man just run and pip him underneath him.
All right. So the devil is like that. He sees you getting close to your goal. He sees you just about to hit the finish, and he begins to press.
I press you, but him now go win. You don't win.
You win. So you now need to know that don't matter if you glance behind and never glance behind. But if you feel the heat of the enemy on your back, just know,
your neck.
Yes, that he is really trying to catch you before you cross the line. Redouble your efforts and know that he can never catch you. You only catch you if you stop, quite frankly. It's like one of those. Only if you stop and decide that you are contending with him in some way. That's the only way you're going to lose. You just keep pressing. I tell myself that every day. This is a week in which I'm telling it to myself every hour.
So in every situation, with prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, can you thank God, say with you now? Tell your request to God, and the peace that surpasses all understanding, you know where you get it from, you know, will guard your hearts and minds in Christ Jesus. Your heart and your mind in Christ Jesus. Just thank him. Having conversation. He's coming through and reminding you, hey, I've done this. Done this already. Trust me, I've been there, I've done that. Just watch me do what I need to happen.
I'm kind of, I got deep in reflection a moment ago because we need to spend the right amount of time just considering what that incident in, what's the name of the community? Spring Village.
In
Yeah, Old Harbor.
Yeah, pretty
And you
close
know,
to where the best dress.
we were in Old Harbor on Sunday, but we were ahead of the. We were determined to return home by a certain time, so we left ahead of the. Did we? We left ahead of it. Yeah, because it was in the 4, and we left somewhere between 2 and 3. Yeah. All right. I think it requires sufficient time in discussion and contemplation, so we have a right understanding of what happened in Spring Village. From the accounts of it, we know that someone came to do some kind of reprisal or
Hit whatever it is.
yeah, I mean, the story as to what was behind it is not even relevant to the awfulness of it, because the police gave an account that, and you know, when you hear our police reciting these things, and it sounds so normal, illegal guns that had disappeared, and someone was being held accountable for it, and the police should be. It. I don't know. It's as if this is every day, and perhaps it is by now in their book of happenings, but he just spoke it so. Guns had disappeared and someone was being held accountable, and he wasn't being held accountable in one of the private slaughterhouses that the police and others seem to know exist. He was not being held accountable in some kind of backyard trial at the leader's house or wherever. He was being held accountable in a public location, in full sight of children and families, out for a Sunday evening football match. That's where it had to be done. But the inexplicable part of it to the rational mind is, after shooting the intended victim,
It continued to spray.
they just continued to terrorize the innocent people standing there. And, and the accounts are pretty graphic and awful. It's just like any terror attack you read of or you see being displayed on television. Senseless, completely senseless. All right. So what do people of God or people of faith, what do people of faith say, and how do they interpret those kinds of events? Because it's not just reflective of the barbarity of our current society. It has some very spiritual significance that I don't want us to miss. And I'm just trying to distract Pastor Percival from his Monday morning reading of the newspaper. Would you like some coffee with that?
No.
Maybe toast?
No, no, not. It's the same incident. I'm just looking at it there because I was.
Yeah, but this incident, not to minimize the effect on the personal side of it, but this incident is like many others that happened in current day, that happened in Bible day, that happened 10 years ago, that happened when a society is under a certain kind of oppression, a certain kind of siege. Yes. So there are two things that we need to speak on. Remember, we're the bridge. We're trying to help people understand it. I'm spanking Pastor.
That's okay.
You didn't even budge. Trying to get his attention forcibly. Producer, open up your microphone and join me.
No, I'm listening.
So
I'm
Pastor
listening.
can read the newspaper in peace.
No, I'm listening to you. You're good.
I want you to speak. I don't
You want me
you
to
just
speak,
listen.
but you are laying a foundation. I can't respond. You are going, so I'm listening to what my host is saying. So
Good morning.
Yeah, I have to be listening to what you're saying, because
That's okay. A while ago came a little too quickly.
what you mean
The
that you spank
spanking.
me?
That's okay. Bless you. No, but I want us to look at to speak to the two sides of the event. One, that the devil is running out of time. He knows his time is short.
Right.
He understands that.
So he's doing everything.
So he's gonna
with
press
his
hard.
narrative of fear, which is how he operates. Let's make that very clear to
Yes.
everybody. he operates with a narrative of fear, just unadulterated fear. We've seen that the last 2 years. It continues on in terms of what am I going to do? And then what it forces people to do is to just throw up their hands in the air and
because the prize for him is to steal your faith,
right,
to convince you
destroy
that
you.
God is not able,
Yeah.
that the promises are not sure, that you can't do it, and that you are overwhelmed and he
You're
doesn't
helpless,
love you.
and there's no help.
And there's nothing to happen. You're going to drown. You're dead now. So you're standing on the field and you're hearing gunshots. And as far as you're concerned, they're coming right at you. And the next thing you know, you can't leave your yard. Every man you see, you treat him with suspicion and paranoia. When you interact with persons, instead of being loving and kind, you're brutish and short, and you become, and everybody, because it's just a whole mess of hostility and chaos.
Which is what he wants, which is how he operates. Because yesterday, when we were on the program, and a caller says, boy, you find this more downtown than uptown, and you pointed out teams to say, boy, it's not really so, because based on our experience, if you have a breakdown in inner city, the guys will run and say, Elder, everything all right? Well, we can do for help, and everybody who is not mechanic coming to help you.
And the opinions.
And then they say, fix that, or someone said, no bother touch your man car. One mechanic run out the corner, let's go and get him.
Yes.
Leave it alone, which is interesting, how we are as a people.
We're helpful, but
It's how we are. It is in our DNA as a people to be helpful.
To be hospitable and helpful even when we don't know.
Nothing.
We still want. In fact, you know what I've discovered? The greatest chance of hostility coming out of any such interaction is if you start to disagree with the people's expertise.
Yes.
If you start to reject help.
I say.
If you start to behave as if you can't and they and not. That is when it becomes problematic.
Yeah, so you listen.
Because we're sensitive.
Yeah, we're sensitive that kind of a way.
Yes, we're sensitive that kind of a way.
And something that happened, I related it off air yesterday after I dropped my son to school. I observed that a van had become disabled. So I said, okay. So he said, pass me, man. But he alone was in the vehicle with a female. I said, no, man. I park my car, I go help him and push it out. But you know what I found so very disheartening? Is that a lot of people, children, and were just walking past, and I'm going, not even one of them come say, what we can do? In our days, we see that we find it as for help.
It's a nice adventure, sighting.
Yeah. But it is something that has crept into our society, and we have to be so careful. But everybody is focused on themselves.
But let's dig a little behind that surface, because coming out of even an event like what happened on the weekend, persons have become fearful. They want to mind their own business, because if you put your nose out, it gets chopped off. We are no longer teaching our children that it's okay to help and to stop and to listen. Long time I know, not take up nobody on road. Don't do. There are some do nots that have crept into our culture by reason of the fear, the paranoia, and as Righteousness was saying, these things really do happen. People really do get assaulted and abused and hurt in some of these areas. So it becomes hard for a parent to really guide a child who has to go about the road and so on, that it is okay to be
helpful.
Yes. And sometimes the children not mature enough to suss out when it is safe. So we tend to tell them it better come straight home.
Not do anything.
Don't do anything. And to the onlooker, and over time, it becomes rudeness, unkindness, lack of empathy, because instead of us being able to teach our children to be helpful and loving, we've had to teach them to be fearful and to protect themselves.
You know,
when you consider that nonsense that the Minister of Education seemed to have endorsed that the girls need to be in long dresses in order to keep away predators. That's how we reach now, you know. We're at this stage now where we're probably just gonna dress them in the Muslim hijab.
No, we're not going to do that.
No, but I mean,
but I tell you, but
when you
I
put the
remember.
dress long and the child is still abducted, what you gonna do? Wrap her in a bag?
Well, we don't know. But I tell you something.
Yes.
And this I know for a fact. It became one school deliberately told the ladies to move their skirt down. You know what was happening on the buses? The girls would sit in the laps of the boys on the buses and be having sex. That's a serious thing. That
With the long skirt?
no, it was shorter before, but then said to prevent it, they said you have to pile it up so you will see that something is happening. I found it when it was related to be a young lady said that is what they told them to do to that them don't yield to temptation. Me say, oh boy. So it speaks to other things, you know. You look very perplexed, but
Very.
but it's true when you're out there and you can young ladies can call in and say, why up school in Park? I won't mention the name of the school. They moved it down because they were getting these major reports in terms of the boys and the girls on the bus and the back seat. Oh wow! It just went out of control. That even some of the times they had to, the dean of discipline had to be looking, just going in the buses ad hoc just to do checks to see that their young ladies were behaving themselves. But I tell you, that go back to a major thing that you spoke about, which is with parenting in terms of saying there are some things you can't do. It's not acceptable. And it goes back with the training that you get at home.
I must tell you that in all my years,
You've never heard that?
I had never regarded the length of my skirt as a contraceptive.
It looked like that's what that was the logic there.
It's just strange to me to hear that
Yeah.
this is how you would be this is a way to address purity.
Yeah.
That you are, so what's in the mind? I mean, is the skirt fault?
No, I don't
Anyway,
think this
let's not.
But I'm just saying to you in terms of what was happening.
It was happening, and a shortcut was to just say, listen, man, make those skirts long. I just figured that if the skirt is long, it could allow you to be more discreet in your misbehavior.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking. That a long skirt is more of a risk.
But you have to flip it up. Yeah.
All right, Pastor, I see you've worn skirts.
Well, I'm not wearing skirt. But I'm just going back to
Pastor was actually beginning a demonstration here. It's quite funny.
saying, no,
yeah.
but
I'm a bit of a Puritan sometimes. I don't. And I went to an all-girls school. I never took bus. So, so the shenanigans that
happened. No,
that happened in a bus.
I remember going to school, we would just marshal off the back seat of the bus as boys.
Oh.
We decide who come to the back. So it was the schools, the boys' school.
And girls were sitting on the laps of boys in the back?
It would happen some of the times.
Okay.
And do you know when this is in? This is in the 70s, 80s, so it's not a new thing. It just become more pronounced.
I mean, I may I just say something that might shock you a bit?
What's that?
Sex is not a new thing.
But you know that.
I think it was around in the 70s. It didn't start with generation
but it's
Z or X or
Y,
whoever is running the troops today.
Yeah, but the point we are making is the narrative of fear that is out there is kind of corralling us to behave a certain kind of a way. Would you agree with that?
Yes, yeah. And that's it's really what I was hoping we could focus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so if we understand that the only thing that can overcome fear is your faith and your belief in what God has said because that's how he uses it all the time.
But he says perfect love
Love cast
casts
it
out
out
all
all
fear.
fear. That's how he.
Yeah.
That's the
So if you,
antidote.
yeah, man, if you are relaxing in the perfect love of God, you understand it, you're living it, you're displaying it, believe me, you won't be fearful. When you see someone that looks like they need help, you're going to be so overcome by compassion and empathy that you move into it without thinking that, oh, this might be a trap.
But we have, yeah, but it's true. And some of the times I do some things and my children look at me and say, "You all right, Daddy?"
Afterwards, you yourself kind of say, what
did I just do that? Yes,
Yeah,
but it
yeah.
is.
It's because you live in the perfect love of God.
Yeah, because
and it casts out all fear.
And I had to say it last night. A group of us were speaking as gentlemen, brothers, and we're just relating stories as it was. One of them said to me, we really have changed because if somebody fell down, we would move to help the person. Now the thing is everybody go for them cell phone to tape it and to and you're going, really? Where is our humanity? Where is our compassion in terms of helping somebody fall down? We run to help the person. Everything all right? We look on, we take out our cell phones and we running our YouTube and I'm saying, glory. We've seen it so many times.
Yeah.
Accidents. Instead of trying to help people, everybody gone for their cell phone to be doing what they think is nice. That's can't be nice. That's callous.
But each time I see it, I wonder what has broken down in the mind. Or yes, and I think two things. One, I recognize that getting the information out sometimes it's what brings a solution and the right attention to a very bad situation.
Mm-hmm.
So I realize that persons have begun to feel so powerless about their own ability to affect something that is happening right at their feet that they think the only thing they can do is record it and send it out. And then I think, okay, maybe the devil meant it for evil, but God has turned it to a good purpose because you, in the moment that you're doing it, might not even be thinking consciously through, why am I doing this?
Mm-hmm.
You may be thinking it's entertainment in that I'm sharing. But
there needs to be a balance.
When you share, it all eyes hit it and the right pair of eyes see it as an opportunity. It really is no different from when the news media, go down on a situation hard and put a report in the paper that might or might not. It's hurtful to some people and it might bring. There were two stories in yesterday's paper, for example, that I made a note of because I wanted to see how we could help. There's a young lady living in very poor situation with her two kids, and they had gone to one of the prime minister's ribbon cutting or speech making occasion in the hope that he would see them and bless them with one of the houses, the welfare thing he's doing. And another was of a young lady whose son has cerebral palsy.
Yeah.
And she was looking help to have him returned to some treatment center where she said she has had to quit her job to look after him and so on. So sometimes turning a spotlight on a situation, you may think it is entertaining, or maybe you genuinely just want to share and say, oh my God, look at this. This person needs help, because that's the only thing you can do. For this morning's bridge tip, do not forget that there is always something you can do on the spot, even a word of comfort, even whatever it is that you can do. Your hands have value in every situation. It's time for the 7 a.m. break. When we come back.
A difference you can hear, a difference you can feel.
Best FM, keep listening. Sourcing textbooks for children is not always an easy task. Ask any parent or guardian and they will tell you it's one of the most eventful activities to be undertaken for back to school. It's part of the reason the Consumer Affairs Commission CAC continues to assist with information on the industry through its annual textbook survey. The findings from the latest survey were recently released. Stick around for what you'll need to know about sourcing textbooks for your child this academic year. Textbook prices have gone up by 8.5%, based on the CAC's survey conducted in August. However, buying them in Kingston could save you a few dollars as they're a little cheaper in the city when compared with bookstores in rural areas.
In the greater Kingston metropolitan area, it's just about 7%, 6.79, and among the rural towns, it was a little higher, 11%. Now, more than half of the books that we looked at increased within the 1% to 10%. So we have a nice little bell curve. Most of the prices, most of the book, the increases are right there in the middle between 1% and 10%. And then almost a quarter of the books increased between 11 and 20%.
Director of Research at the CAC, Raquel White. Consumers in the corporate area are benefiting from lower prices as more bookstores are available.
With regards to why, what would explain the differences? In the greater KMR, there are a lot more outlets that are concentrated together. So the prices will definitely be more competitive. But when you're looking at prices across parish lines, and you may have 2 outlets per town, you will find that there's far more variation. You're looking at island-wide spread as opposed to concentrated in Kingston and St. Andrew, Port Morris Parish Town.
There are some consumers benefiting from reduced prices, including those targeting books at the Caribbean Advanced Proficiency Examination CAPE level.
There are some reductions, thankfully. Just over 1/10 of the books that we looked at reduced between 0.1% and about 10%. The largest reduction was about 21% by one of the CAPE books. It's the Caribbean Sociology book. Now, we couldn't really explain why there was a reduction, but what we know of this book is that it has various ISBNs and it is published by various authors. So dependent on which version is in the bookstores, it would change or bring down the average price of the book.
The difference between the lowest priced book and the highest priced book was looked at in the study, with texture found to be a major pricing factor. Mrs. White says softer cover books were cheaper compared with those having a hard cover.
On average, there was a 36% difference between the highest and the lowest price. That's island-wide. But when we looked at the literature books, these are your novels, the disparity or the difference between the maximum and the minimum price was over 80%. And that usually occurs because some of our literature novels are soft cover, some are hard cover, different publishers, and based on the quality of the material, where it is sourced from, the prices tend to vary. In the greater Kingston and metropolitan region, the difference between the highest was a little lower, 21%, still higher among the literature novels for the same reason, it was 56%. And in the rural parishes, the difference was between the highest and the lowest was 33%.
From price, we jump to availability of textbooks. Based on the survey, books at the infant level are more readily available.
But generally, the other levels, which are your primary and secondary level books, they were not as readily available as the infant level books. And at the time of the survey, a number of bookstores had indicated to us that by the end of August, early September, they would have had their new stock. So we're hoping that when the parents go out, they'll be able to get the books they could not get when the survey was done.
Director of Research at the CAC, Raquel White. The data also showed little to no difference on the cost of books online. Parents can also get access to used books at lower prices. For more information on the survey, you can visit cac.gov.jm or the CAC's mobile app on the Google and Apple Play Store.
A production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.
A difference you can hear. A difference you can feel.
Best FM 100 on your dial. Keep listening.
Warning, warning. When there is a hurricane warning, button down, tie down, everything. Lift appliances and furniture off the ground and secure your valuable items. If you wanna boat, secure it on land and turn on your yard. If you a fisherman, make sure you turn off every breaker. And before you sleep, turn off your generator. Flooding, that is a real danger. If you live a gully bank, live a bank or low line area. If you see flood waters are rising, get out, get out. Heed the warning. If your land starts slipping and sliding, get out, get out. Heed the warning. Hurricanes gonna happen, so be prepared.
A message from the Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management.
Half a tree, one and drive, half a tree. Bossy, away do I take taxi star?
Jano, I want to tell you, say, 2 months now, my transmission mash up, and me check everybody and can't hear nothing positive.
Yeah, hear me? Yeah, waste all that time I shop around and never call the experts. Winters Auto have them. Them have over 35 years of experience and them diagnose the problem and get back your transmission brand new. For them service excellent and efficient. Trust me, man. Yeah, hear me? Call them at 929-7040 or go to them at 106 Maxfield Avenue, Kingston 13 and talk directly to the boss. Just tell them I'm me, send you.
Wow, you big star. Yeah, man, respect my boss.
Yeah, try calling, cause trust me.
Waiters Auto Spares and Repairs, good afternoon.
What a relief.
For a better choice in all your electrical supplies, A, authorized 3M dealer and better brand names. B, better service including free island-wide delivery. C, all major credit and debit cards accepted. It's ABC Electrical Sales, shop number 8, Hagley Park Plaza, Kingston 10. Open Monday to Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., Saturday, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. We make your electrical jobs as easy as ABC. Call 754-382-528 or fax 754-3659. ABC Electrical Sales, for a better choice.
Looking to clean your vehicle super clean? 123 Clean Car Wash, located at 2 1/4 Osborne Road, Kingston 10. Entrance on Grove Road, below Tropical Battery. They wash and vacuum, undercarriage wash, engine wash, polish and compound, shampoo and detailing. Call them at 876-631-3400. 123 Clean Car Wash, the best in the business for a cleaner wash.
1, 2, 3, believe me, it's so easy. 1, 2, 3.
Say, let not your hearts be troubled. Just believe in God Almighty and daily renew the mind. As we live in this time when fake is more valued than real, lies prefer to truth, the unnatural put above the natural. This is Lady Donna, aka Double D Donna, with a new song, Almighty Jah, encouraging your people to keep the faith. God will make a way. Get your copy today. It's on all digital platforms. Lady Donna Official on Instagram, Facebook, AsujaRecords.com. For bookings, Asuja Record label at Gmail. Almighty Jah!
What should a taxi service do for you? On-time taxi service is more than just a ride to the other side of town.
The best taxi service.
They offer clean and spacious vehicles, reliable service, and promise to always look out for their customers. They'll come when you call and take you where you want to go on time.
Need a cab from anywhere at all. You can call us at 926-3866.
We are something special on the road.
Best 100 FM is the authentic voice of Jamaica, promoting your prosperity with better vibes and better music. Let us promote your goods and services for you. Advertise with us. For more information, call our office at 876-276-8935. That's 276-8935.
The Morning Connection is not your usual talk show. We aim to stimulate discussion and chart new paths to self-empowerment. So please join us, Minette and Percy, on The Morning Connection, Mondays to Thursdays, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. on Best 100 FM.
It's good, it's better, but nothing beats.
Good morning and welcome back. Despite the many examples that we were giving of how the reign of terror unfolds and how it works, its significance, we don't want you to miss sight of the fact that there are two sides to it. First, we were focusing on the fact that the devil being a defeated foe, and we're taking it from just a straight biblical perspective now. However, you want to, whatever your concept is of the struggle between good and evil, light and darkness, whatever your narrative looks like, you have these opposing forces that are in an eternal struggle. And our narrative of it, our understanding, our faith-based position is that the kingdom of light, the forces of good, have already overcome the force of evil. And while the struggle is intensifying as we come to the climax,
yes, the end of it all,
you will see that the person who is losing will begin to try harder. And because we believe he knows his time is short, that is the prophecy. His time is short. He will redouble his efforts. And the great objective for him is to mess up our faith, steal from us the knowledge that we fight in victory, steal from us the confidence that if we repel, if we push back, he has no other choice but to flee.
Okay.
So in that moment, what you will see, and that's why they say it is darkest before dawn, what you will see in those final moments of conflict is an increased pressure, an increased intensity. And some persons who have been fighting for a long time will be fatigued, and if others don't pull them along or boost them, they may fall during the struggle. It can happen. So you who remain on the battlefield have to be very sensitive to the fact that the reason the heat of the battle has intensified is not because the enemy thinks victory is sure. It's because the enemy sees that he is losing and he's trying to pull one more with him. Pull one more with him.
And that is
so
why,
don't let that one more be you.
And that is why the whole important thing of fellowship, of being in relationship with your brother, being in community where you're strengthening, you're pulling along, you're encouraging, is so important. And we see that coming out of the early church. After the day of Pentecost, when the Holy Spirit had come, it says they continued, Acts 2:42 to 44, they continued together in the word, but in fellowship, breaking our bread, strengthening each other. And guess what happens in that? Nobody was left behind. And
all needs were met. All right, so that is one side. The other side of it now is, what then should a believer, what then should a person of faith, what then should a person who does not want to succumb to the pull of the dark side, what should you do? How do you walk so that you can be among the survivors?
The Africans have a proverb: if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, and we're journeying far, we have to go together. The need
Ubuntu.
The need for fellowship, the need for accountability, the need to support each other, the need to be there, the need to be your brother's keeper becomes even more important in this time. The need to love, as God has encouraged us to love our neighbors as ourselves, it becomes important.
So one of the first things then, while you are on the battlefield and you see that it has intensified around you, you must know what weapons are appropriate for the particular battle you're in.
That's important.
So, and I said you must know knowledge. Last week we were talking about knowledge, how important it is to pursue, to seek to understand the knowledge, the body of information necessary for you to navigate whatever situation you find yourself in. Now, checking your weapon at a football match where shots are being fired indiscriminately it seems like now we have to learn the tricks for urban warfare, how you lie low, how to listen. That young man who applied a tourniquet to his young lady's neck, he said, take off in Ganzi and wrap it around her neck and put her to lie face down.
Lord first here.
Yes. So there are some things, some information, some knowledge that you have to make sure you know. Basic first aid, basic response. It is awful that I hope I never have to teach my son what to do when you hear gunshots.
That's
but
true.
That is a reality.
True.
So there are some things you got to think about. Practical responses. And I pray that in the schools, in the churches, areas that are under a certain type of oppression, that people are practical and have basic first aid tips and knowledge that they can share. That is one, on the practical side. The second is the only response to terrorists is a swell of confidence.
You know that.
When someone is trying to restrict you, isolate you, alienate you from your base of strength and community, the only response is to push past that and do the opposite. If they want you to stay yard, come out on the streets. Except if there's a curfew.
Yeah, that's true.
But you see, it's one of the reasons to why curfews don't work. Because when you lock people away and keep them out of you isolate them, saying you're keeping them out of harm's way, you're actually further eroding the relationship.
That's why the lockdowns never work.
That's why the lockdowns don't work. And I'm speaking, I'm not speaking as one who has studied the matter as a science.
True.
I'm speaking from a very maybe common sense and humanistic perspective, but I'm speaking truth in terms of how it applies to me as a human being. Because these scientists, these we them study. They're experts on us.
Yeah.
So if you study yourself, you can be an expert on yourself. But I do see that those strategies of alienating and locking down will not have long-term effect and may create more long-term damage than anything else. Look at what transpired. To give you a case in point, there was a shooting incident on James Street in central Kingston. And it's reported on in today's paper. The account given by onlookers is that a police car was parked, apparently in its usual place, because central Kingston has been under careful guard since, I think, January. So the car is parked, the police car is there, and the policemen are in the car. And this is one of the strategies that I've heard many citizens call and request, where they say, put policemen in areas that are volatile and let just the sight of them have a chilling effect on the people who don't respect law and order. So the policemen are there in their position. A young man who had left the community because of trouble and feeling, I guess, that the trouble had settled enough, was back in the community on the streets. The onlooker, eyewitness, is saying she's intuiting that word of his presence on the street went out, and those who were hunting him came hunting. And she said, in broad daylight, the men came, walk up the street, full view of the police car, opened fire, kill one man, shot another one. The man and the policemen were, let me use the lady's words. Residents expressed alarm that the presence of the police service vehicle that is always parked on James Street was no deterrent to the brazen criminals. The police them turn fool.
Turn fool, man. Huh?
No, it's turn them off. Please, there's an R. I am being specific.
Then turn fool. I never, Krista.
She said the police them turn fool. The man them come out the yard and shoot up the man them and go up James Street. The police them a try turn the car before them go up on foot and challenge the man them. From the first 3 shot them fire, the police them see where go on, a resident said. Now, that either gonna leave you at some point, somebody going to say the police is a part of it. At some point. Because when regular citizens without training in urban warfare gonna tell you that the man them walk gone and the police had tried pursue them in a car and can't even turn the car. Perhaps by the time it was all done, the men had melted into the concrete. That is what happened in broad daylight in a community in Kingston. And to make our point, the people said
Never did it there.
the residents said they were no longer safe, even in their yards. And the police are pointing out that the residents don't cooperate with investigators.
Isn't that a catch-22 situation?
Yeah.
Because if you believe, you know, what would I embolden the things, you know, if to put it, if the police say they boy them and go after them, and the two shot after them and
shoot to kill.
Yes.
And so that's why, like, you end up saying, no, what's really going on? Because maybe you can't put junior police in that situation.
You have to have seasoned police.
So you have a car that is parked. What is the car there for? Why are you putting a presence in a community, and when the very thing that you're supposed to be preventing take place, you are incapacitated, or, as them say, a ton fool? So now you're looking at some other issues.
Yeah, because there are other issues beyond what you see. Because this static, it's all over the place. If you drive down Red Hills Road, if you are driving some communities or hotspot, you see a police vehicle that is parked strategically at a place at what you'd call the borderline, the borderline. So you see it, say, do anything. But these...
So you might as well leave it empty.
These people are brazen. This is
all of them are brazen. The ones in Spring Village were brazen. They are all doing things in plain sight. But you know what caught my attention? The words that were used to describe the citizens' condition. The incident, which occurred about 4 p.m. on James Street,
broad daylight,
has caused residents to be cowering in fear, dreading another explosion of gang warfare between the two most notorious factions in the space.
It's the name that them have? Oh, Lord.
I don't even want to repeat the names because some of these names, which are a condemnation and a curse, should be just blotted out. When you name your community, that way. And then I'm sure the air, anyway, whatever.
But you see, let me, and some people don't even understand what is happening. I remember years ago, I did an intervention working with the young men. It was an at-risk youth program, and we're doing skills training and so on. And we couldn't accommodate everything, so we decided we'd lease space from another institution in the community. And thing. And when the young man come to me and say, boss, elder, whatever they refer to me as, Prince, if you go up the road, me can't come. When me say I want community, is one constituency, and say, not going up that side, boss. Because if I go up there, they're going to kill me. And we're talking about, it's not even 100 meters away from where the school is. So when they say they live in...
cowering in fear.
Literal fear in
Yeah.
terms of what has happened, in terms of what has happened is the splintering of gangs in communities. But there is a solution.
Of course there is.
There is a solution.
Of course there is.
There is a solution.
Of course there is. Say it again.
There is a solution. There is a solution.
I'm not joining you with it.
No, there
It's not
is
a song.
a solution to what is happening on the ground that I believe that the citizens of this country across in Westmoreland, in central Kingston and so on, that we're going to have to working with the law and order to take back our communities. And it begins with restoration of trust. Because if there's no trust and you can't be trusted, then how are you going to work with the persons? Because you don't want to have extra judiciary killings or systems of justice any place at all. It becomes important. And Father, even as we continue to seek answers, we ask for the revelation and the inspiration in order to deal with it. Because you have made declarations over this nation, and we are not going to allow for the prince of darkness to push us into a corner that we cower in fear. But we will move forward in faith, believing that there indeed are solutions to every problem.
And we know the first thing we had targeted is that it begins with knowledge.
Yeah.
Acquire the knowledge that will give you that sober mind.
Yeah.
Scripture does say that we are not given a spirit of fear,
but of love.
We're given a spirit of love,
power,
sound mind, and a sound mind. So once we know that love casts out the fear, okay. So now you're fearless, but you must have knowledge of how to move with a sober mind. Your sober mind is what's going to bring to the forefront of your imagination the things that you can do, the things that you should do. Like that young man who gives the account of taking off his shirt and wrapping the wound and putting his lady in a position that would minimize the bleeding. And then he said she was calling for her children. This is love at work again. She was calling for her children, and he knew the children were there, and he then went to get the children so that his family could be secure. All of that is love in action. And the presence of mind which he exhibited comes from that place of a sober mind.
Yeah.
When you maintain your sober mind, you don't panic.
True.
So you're not running about like a headless chicken and an easy target.
Which is what has happened.
Yeah.
That's another situation.
So you see these things, and now it is time for our communities for us to train them. I'm going to say train. They have to be sensible about how to survive and how to move when you are under attack. Of course, if you can change location, naturally, who wouldn't do that? Because some places are cursed ground and you don't have the weaponry to break the curse. So if you know you don't have the weaponry to break the curse, that's why you see some people just flee, leave the community, leave the area. And sometimes they're told to move. Do not believe that when you move, you're giving in or you're giving up. Case in point, when the danger was moving too close to baby Jesus, the angel said, take him to Egypt.
For the time being.
For the time being. Egypt is both a place of disaster and a place of refuge.
It is.
Many persons have been hidden in Egypt so they could come to maturity and move back onto the stage where they are destined to do their work. So when you're in a community like that and there is a certain type of risk, don't feel that leaving it is giving in or giving up. Sometimes you must move in order to find a place of refuge and a place where you can be trained, as I will do during the break. Everybody's now giving us the break sign, Percy. Time for us to break.
And they're not providing any coffee or donuts.
A difference you can hear, a difference you can feel.
Best FM, keep listening.
One in. A hurricane we name. How we rough. Whether we are man hurricane or woman hurricane. We want you to know that. We come up and mash up building, blow down things and just like blow out this. We no ram. We no respect no one. So not take no chance with we. Listen to Hot Prem and prepare. Hurricanes do happen. So be prepared. Yes, be prepared.
A message from the Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management. For a better choice in all your electrical supplies, A, authorized 3M dealer and better brand names. B, better service including free island-wide delivery. C, all major credit and debit cards accepted. It's ABC Electrical Sales. Shop number 8, Hagley Park Plaza, Kingston 10. Open Monday to Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., Saturday, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. We make your electrical jobs as easy as ABC. Call 754-3825-8 or fax 754-3659. ABC Electrical Sales, for a better choice.
Veteran Printers for all your printing needs. We specialize in calendars, flyers, brochures, and more. Call us today at 968-7506. That's 968-7506. Or visit us at 4 East Bloomsbury Road, off Hagley Park Road. Veteran Printers, your best choice in printing.
half a tree, one and drive, half a tree. Bossy, away I do I take taxi star?
Jano, I want to tell you, say, 2 months now, my transmission mash up, and me check everybody and can't hear nothing positive.
Yeah, hear me? Yeah, waste all that time I shop around and never call the experts. Winters Auto have them. Them have over 35 years of experience and them diagnose your problem and get back your transmission brand new. For them service excellent and efficient. Trust me, man. Yeah, hear me? Call them at 929-7040 or go to them at 106 Maxfield Avenue, Kingston 13 and talk directly to the boss. Just tell them I'm me send you.
Wow, you big star. Yeah, man, respect my boss.
Yeah, try calling, cause trust me.
Voiceless Auto Spares and Repairs, good afternoon.
Ah, what a relief.
Best 100 FM is the authentic voice of Jamaica, promoting your prosperity with better vibes and better music. Let us promote your goods and services for you. Advertise with us. For more information, call our office at 876-276-8935. That's 276-8935.
The Morning Connection is not your usual talk show. We aim to stimulate discussion and chart new paths to self-empowerment. So please join us, Minette and Percy, on The Morning Connection, Mondays to Thursdays, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. on Best 100 FM.
It's good, it's better, but nothing beats.
Welcome back. And thank you for sticking with us. I tell you, the mood shifted in here because we started to read a letter, something talking about the Queen, and the mood shifted like, whoa.
The man talking about Bernie Smith, Parksville, British Columbia, Canada.
Okay. All right. Because that is evil of another order, a higher order, but believe me, it is no different from the killing and the blood that you're seeing in the communities. No different. The Britain's empire building activities, and not just Britain, all of those powers that have come up high in the world.
1891 Berlin Conference where they
carve up Africa like it is a slice of toast.
So you take that? No, me have that. No. So you have that. No.
Yeah. All right, you keep it for 10 years and then give it back to me.
Yes, that's how they carved up Africa.
Yeah.
Wow.
And some things, when some of the things come to maturity during your lifetime, like, the Panama Canal being given back to Panama, we saw that. The agreement ended. What was it, 100 years agreement?
Lease.
Yes. We saw it come to an end, and we saw the same thing with Hong Kong. Hong Kong being released from servitude
to
Britain, and then the Chinese Republic wanting to... and do you notice, it is an aside, but not too random. What transpired with Hong Kong's release is no different than what transpired with Jamaica and the death of the Queen. Equate the end of the 100-year pact to the death of the monarchy.
To the end of the imperialist power?
Yes. So when the person dies or the agreement comes to a close, those who struck the deal long ago might be saying, oh, well, now my time, I step back into my position. But in the meantime, the society has changed, the people have changed, and they're not just going to step back into that boat with you. So if you notice, Hong Kong went through a rough period where China was trying to exert a certain level of control and parental authority. And the Hong Kongese, I want to give them a name, the people of Hong Kong, were not going for it.
And you see what happened?
And they took to the streets.
And then
And while China has not ceded their position, they've not pushed it aggressively either.
Yeah, because when you think of what... Because the lady who is heading the Hong Kong thing...
Their parliament,
what has basically happened if we read into it, China see them as a part of their country. So even the laws have changed in terms of locking
because
out the dissidents.
They once properly they were part of China. And it's an agreement that was struck that caused it to remain under under British rule. But what struck me is that in Hong Kong, a certain kind of economy had developed and was flourishing that China itself did not want to jeopardize by being too punitive and heavy-handed.
There's a whole heap of money there.
Yes, yes.
Be not fooled, you know. I remember years ago, this is like 19, 20 years ago, was an international conference. And this young man who was parents were missionaries in China, he said to me, don't be fooled, you know. I said, what do you mean? He says, the Chinese are into dynasties, like the British and everybody.
Imperial,
yes, and don't be fooled. Because to them, what has happened is just a blip. Because ultimately,
things will fall back into its rightful place.
According to them, because we have always believed that we have a destiny to rule the world. Don't be fooled. Seem like everybody else. I wonder what's going to happen when they all...
All right. So we do understand that in the divine scheme of things, and we don't know all of it because that's not our place. God is sovereign.
Yes.
And though he says in his word that he does nothing without revealing it to his prophets, he reveals it in time, and he reveals it in part, and he reveals it in a puzzle. I have a piece of it in Jamaica. Somebody have a piece in Australia. Another man have a piece in America,
and it's because
and that's not anything strange or unusual, because he knows that is one human family. So if a brother have it there, so and a sister have there, so ultimately it's working its way towards completion of one picture.
Many are the plans in a man's heart. It is what
God ordains that will hold the day. So we understand that. One of the things that is a restraint, and it's meant to be that way, a restraint on man's imagination, all the things that we seek to set up against the knowledge of God, is the knowledge of God.
Yes.
I know that nothing happening here is random. I know that all things are connected, even though I can't see it in this moment. I know that if it is man who is championing his own cause in his own way, it is destined to fail.
It has failed already.
It has failed already. And there's no doubt in my mind. I sit in places sometimes and I hear persons who are working in big business and who are in government quarters and see things and know things and have a great confidence about things. I hear them charting out, just laying out man's agenda.
Oh, wow.
And when this happened and who's going to rule and who has that and don't I see. And for a moment, it usually gets me for a moment because they speak persuasively and with such confidence. And you see them already fat on a history of success. Because it has been going well for them. you know what I'm talking about.
Yes, man.
Right. And then some saying, wow, but it sounds like the world really are going to end on this note.
Yes, man.
And then I remember.
I went into the praise of the Father.
Yeah, man. I said, but there's God.
Yeah. The wealth of the wicked. You see
stored up for the righteous.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
See it happening.
So, and that's the confidence that we want to infuse in you as you look at the troubled waters, as you put your foot in, as you look at all of the different things that are going in strange directions. A memory something just swam to the top of my consciousness as I'm speaking. I remember there's a promise that God will show you riches hidden in secret places.
You've shared that before on this program.
Yes, and what came into my thoughts as I'm just narrating this piece of it is, when you are in that terrible, I see no out kind of situation, you reach for your knowledge, and your weapon is really the sword of the Spirit, which is the Word of God. You reach into it and you say, okay, what did you give me for this situation? The first thing he gave you is, your knowledge of me going to take you out of this. So what do you know about me? How do I move? When people are back, when you're back against the wall and you're a righteous person, going about your business, doing and moving in the way that God has ordained for you, and every type of cross is come up against you, what are you supposed to do? So you look in the Word to find what's the key He gave you for this. One of the things that He has said is, first, there's no problem you face for which I have not put a door of escape.
Right. No situation.
None whatsoever. It don't exist.
That even makes a way of escape.
There is a way of escape. So that's the first thing you can be confident about, is that there is a way of escape. So now you begin to look for it. And the second thing is, you must know how He works.
That's why you have to be in relationship.
Yeah, because that's how you're going to discover how it works. One thing I know, the way of escape is going to involve sacrifice. I have to give up something that I really love. So you got to look around and say, all right, what are the things that I'm treating as sacred cows in this situation? You, all right, get on the altar. You are the sacrifice. The second thing is, He uses, as you said yesterday, He uses the small things to confound the wise. So you must do not look that your help is going to come from the Prime Minister. If there's a beggar at your gate, rest assured that's where it's coming from. Begin to look around you for the things that are inconsequential, insignificant, the things you would dismiss.
Look for the donkeys.
Look for the... You got to explain that one. Give me a donkey story. Is this Balaam and the donkey?
Balaam and the donkey.
In the donkeys, yeah. I don't even want to say it. It's your salvation.
But it wasn't his salvation. Yeah. I was going and doing him thing. And the donkey said, no, me not